Hello, everybody. Warm welcome to you all here in our MBA Spotlight series. This is Satwik, a GMAT Club moderator, and today we're hosting our lovely colleagues from Schulich School of Business. So, hello, Jessica. Hello, Satwik, Deanna, and Sean. Warm welcome to you all here. Before we get started, I just want to highlight a couple things. First of all, today's session is sponsored by Empower Financing. Thank you, Empower, for making this session happen. Second thing is that after later on today at 10 a.m. Pacific, there will be a Q&A, specific Q&A session with people from Schulich Business School, and you guys can have that through Zoom and have a more intimate, let's say, chat with the colleagues. And last thing, there are also 2 other sessions today. So right after this one, there will be 2 other ones succeeding one another. So don't forget to tune in. And just before we get started and hand over to Jessica, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you like the video. And if you don't like it, yeah, please also say that. We are looking for feedback and we appreciate it. Jessica, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Satwik. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining today. You're here to learn a little bit more about Schulich School of Business, which is a part of York University based in Toronto, Canada. So my name is Jessica Morgan. I am one of the assistant directors on our recruitment team. Happy to be here today, along with my colleague Sean, who's going to be in the YouTube chat answering some questions there, as well as 2 of our fantastic students, which you'll learn a little bit more about in a moment. But just to give you a basic overview, some of the highlights about Schulich. We are known for being very customizable and flexible program. We have 17 different specializations that students can choose from. We have additional graduate diplomas that you can do in combination with your degree and basically graduate with 2 credentials for the same time and the same cost. And then we do also have some joint degree options. So if you're looking to do a law degree in addition to your MBA, we offer that. If you're looking to do a Master of Arts or Master of Fine Arts in combination with your MBA, we have that option as well. So our campus in Toronto at York University, we offer either a January or September start to the MBA program. So you can choose which one fits your timeline the best. We have actually 2 campuses in Toronto. One is downtown satellite campus. Mainly it's for part-timers, but there are some courses that are open to everybody to take as well. And we have been ranked #1 in Canada by The Economist, Forbes, and CNN Expansion. That really speaks to the quality of the program as well. Next slide, please. So I'm really happy to introduce 2 of our students that are here with us today. We have Satwik and Deanna. I'll just throw it over to them to do a brief introduction of themselves and a little bit of background. So Satwik, can we start with you?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Jessica. So I'm in my final semester of the MBA. Before the MBA, I also hold an undergrad degree in engineering. I was working for a company called Mindtree in their research and R&D division, mostly on Bluetooth. So we were the first team in the world to license Bluetooth. And post that, I started working as a corporate trainer for the same company for training students from North America as well as India. And post that, I joined the MBA. And in the MBA, I was working as a project manager for Schulich for their Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And yeah, glad to be here.
Thanks so much. And Deanna.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Deanna Galati. I just finished my 2nd semester at Schulich, and I'll be entering my 3rd in the fall. I have a non-traditional business background. I come from a background in arts and culture. I have a theater degree as my bachelor's and have been working in the arts and culture sector in Toronto for about the last 5 or so years. Most recently, I was working with the National Ballet of Canada in Toronto, as well as the York Region Arts Council on professional and sort of, I guess, fun arts programming is how I'll term it. And currently I'm interning with the Toronto Arts Foundation. So arts, that's my background. And I'm looking forward to, being on this call today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what the Schulich program is comprised of. There are a couple of different parts that you need to know about. The first year of the program is pretty much a set curriculum, which is like a foundational year. You're going to build that knowledge in your business fundamentals. You're really going to work on your problem solving. There's a focus on leadership, organizational behavior, as well as, of course, getting all exposure to the functional areas of business like accounting, marketing, finance, statistics, operations, that sort of thing. So during that first year, students typically use that to explore the various areas and really solidify what they want to focus on in their second year. Between the first and second year, there is an option to do an internship. It's not a mandatory part of the program, so you can either take that break to take the internship opportunity, or you can skip it if you want to shorten your program a little bit. So it is flexible and it's up to you to choose. Next slide, please. What I really want to focus on today is the second half of the program. And this is comprised of two different parts. So first of all, every MBA student does something called the strategy field study. So for us, this is really the capstone project of the degree. So we're not a research or thesis-based program. We're very practical focused. So you're going to be working in a team of about 6 students. You'll be working in this team for 8 months, and you're going to have a real client, a client site to be working with. So you are going to take everything that you've learned in the program and apply it during this time working with your client to help them solve a business challenge that they're facing. So you get this real practical experience applying all the knowledge that you've learned in the first year and that you're currently learning in year 2 into a real life scenario before you have to go out in the real world post-graduation and sort of test your career on it. The second thing you're doing at the same time is your specializations or elective courses. So we do have 17 different specializations that you could choose from. They are listed in the gray box on the right. Now we group them in 2 groups, functional and cross-functional, but that doesn't mean you can only choose one from the top and one from the bottom. It's really up to you. You can pick up to 2 specializations if you like. You could also do a general degree. So again, a lot of flexibility in how you choose what you want to focus on. So I'll just ask Deanna and Satwik, can you guys let us know when it came to your specializations? I think, Deanna, based on your background and your sort of career, I think you probably knew what you wanted to focus on, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct. And it's actually one of the main reasons why I chose Schulich. It's one of the only business schools that I know of. I could not find any other school that offers, arts and media integrated into the MBA curriculum. And so, yeah, definitely that was an easy one. And then, yeah, so over to Satwik maybe.
Yeah, for me, it was a no-brainer, right? Like Schulich offers so many specializations, and I decided that not to specialize in anything, right? I went for a general MBA, in which I picked whatever my weak spots are, like the subjects I probably never heard about or do not know much about. I selected them and tried to become all-round management professional. So it worked out well for me.
Great. That's also a great strategy. And really, there's no one way that you have to do it. As you just heard, both of our students here took a different path in the way they were focusing on what they wanted to specialize or not specialize in. It's really up to you. And when a student applies, we do ask you, what are you interested in? But we don't hold you to that. So you really don't have to choose your specialization until you're selecting those second year courses. So you do have that first year to kind of explore the various areas, get involved in different things, and see what really piques your interest. So again, you have a lot of selection and a lot of choice here to, figure out what you want to do. Satwik, I'm going to come back to you and ask you to share a little bit about your strategy field study experience. Can you tell us what that was like?
Yeah, so I finished my 601 last semester. So I think, so just for you to get some perspective, if you do a master's degree, you're supposed to do a thesis or a final paper. For an MBA in Schulich, the 601 is that paper, is that final aspect which makes or breaks your MBA. And the experience you get out of it is either like the best one or it could be the worst one too, but you learn a lot from it either ways. So I did my 601 with a company called Energy Solutions Canada. So they're a nuclear recycling company, the largest one in Canada, in fact. And the CEO was coincidentally a graduate from Schulich. He was an executive MBA graduate, and he understood the Schulich program and he understood the 601 process. So it was rather straightforward. We got access to all the company's data, and they were really helpful. And that led to a really wonderful experience for me, because he understood that we need information, and he was rather straightforward with it. And yeah, you had to select other your team along with you, whom you're going to work with. So I had 5 more team members. You could choose to work with people you already know, or completely different people whom you probably not interacted in the MBA, and I went for that choice. And yeah, it was a wonderful experience. I wouldn't want to go too much into the detail, but it's basically this company would have a problem, and us as MBA students, we need to address those problems and come up with solutions for them. So strategy it is.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Next slide, please. So I want to touch a little bit on the student life and extracurricular activities at Schulich. There's quite a lot to do outside of class. And I would go so far as to say, if you're only going to class and going home, you're missing out on a big portion of the experience. So we really strongly encourage you to get involved in things outside of the class. There's things like the student council, which we call our graduate business council, our launch week and orientation activities, student exchange, something called the Schuolympics. Now, have either of you attended Schuolympics?
I did this year. It was a virtual Schuolympics. Still a lot of fun though, and it's basically a weekend of fun and games with your colleagues. You compete on different teams, and then yeah, sort of winner takes home. But it's a lot of fun, even virtually this year. Yeah.
Yeah. So normally it would be like a weekend sleepaway camp.
Yeah,
that everybody goes to. But this year, obviously, we had to do things a little bit differently, but glad it was still a great opportunity. And Satwik, you're involved in the Graduate Ambassador Program. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So the Graduate Ambassador Program is for students to contribute back to the university in a way, right? So I remember back when I was applying for Schulich, and I reached out to a lot of people on LinkedIn that, hey, how's the college? How was your experience? Do you think this is the right fit for me? And a lot of people responded, but a lot of people didn't respond to, right? And you have this hesitation when reaching out to people on LinkedIn. But the Graduate Ambassador Program, you reach out to the Schulich or administration team, and they actually connect with you, a current student who will probably come from the same background or probably the same industry that you're working in. And they will connect you, and that particular student will help you out. Do you have any queries? You have any problems that you probably want help with? And I think both Deanna and me are like graduate ambassadors, and we, if we are in the same background, we'd love to help you out. So something like that.
Great, thanks so much. We'll go to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned, this is some of the things that you could do outside of class. We do participate in a lot of different case competitions throughout the year. And in Canada, there's something called the MBA Games. So this is a Canada-wide competition across the MBA schools in Canada. Each year, the games rotates to the winning school of the previous year. And so I'm going to throw it over to Deanna to talk a little bit first about the MBA games and then about the case competitions.
Yeah, for sure. So actually really exciting. Schulich came in first place this past year. Woohoo! In the MBA games, and so we get to host it. So Schulich will be hosting the 2022 MBA games. And yeah, I mean, basically what Jessica said, it's a weekend long, sometimes a little bit leading up to it. There are some activities that you partake in of athletics, spirit, and academics. And so over the weekend, you're competing on different types of sports activities. There's a dance competition, usually a charity event as well. And then, of course, case competition that is part of that as well. And then the overall school or the overall score is comprised of how you rank in sort of those 3 categories. yeah, so that's the MBA games. On the case competition side, like Jessica mentioned as well, Schulich competes in a lot of different case competitions. You'll see my face in the top corner of the screen there. So I got to compete in a competition at Yale this last year, and we came in first place in that competition as well. Woohoo! lots of excitement. And yeah, case competitions for me, I mean, coming into the MBA, like I mentioned, I don't have a traditional business background. So I wanted to get involved with case competitions to really learn and use what I was learning at Schulich in a more, I guess, practical, hands-on way. And case comps are a great way to do that. And so, yeah, with Yale, you know, it was a week-long sort of process where you get the case and work on it with your team, submit it, and then present it in front of a panel of judges. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure the experience is different. I don't have in-person experience with this stuff. So as you can see in all the other photos, they're competing in person. But yeah, we competed on Zoom. A lot of fun still, and definitely an awesome learning opportunity. And yeah, Schulich is very much involved with both case competitions and the MBA games.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, and congrats. That's a huge win to win at Yale. So amazing accomplishment. One of the other things that we do internally at Schulich is something called the Dean's Cup. So that's where Schulich students are doing sort of internal case competitions against one another and going through rounds and progressing through. So, you know, if you're not feeling quite ready to step out there on the international stage, you can do something a little closer to home as well, or even do both. Really, there's lots of opportunities to get involved. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to see if my colleague Sean is available to jump on from this point, and if so, we might throw it over to him.
Perfect. Yeah. So I'd be happy to touch on the next few slides here. So another point of pride for Schulich is the diversity of our faculty, recruiters, and student body. In terms of gender diversity, we have about a 40% female population, thanks to the various leadership initiatives through events such as, you know, just our recent Women in Business networking event that we held just last Wednesday. And of course, you know, the Forte Foundation that also provides some annual entrance funding. But really, you know, our classroom is comprised of many unique and interesting perspectives. And I think that's what really benefits the Schulich program. You know, about 55% of our student body is coming from, you know, international students, and about 70% of those students are coming from non-business backgrounds as well. So you have people coming from, you know, the healthcare industry for our health industry management program. You know, all of our specializations are attracting people from those fields, faculty from those fields, as well as industry professionals from those fields. So you're definitely going to be able to pull on all those different industries, all those different roles in the classroom, and kind of play on those for your own career and personal growth. Can I have the next slide, please? The Career Development Center also publishes annual graduate career reports every year. I believe they're still working on the 2020, but this is some data from 2019 that we have. So you can see that about 89% of our graduates are able to find employment within 3 months of graduation. And the average starting salary you're looking at is going to be about $93,000. You can also see on the right side here, you know, kind of the employment by industry. So what industry people are going into afterwards. But this all kind of plays into, you know, the fact that Forbes rated Schulich as #1 in Canada in terms of years to pay back all costs associated with admission. That's also including the living expenses that you'll accumulate during that time. And students will report that they recoup their investment in as little as 3 years in some cases. You know, and our point of interest is that, you know, we are rated about 8th in the world by The Economist in terms of salary increases from pre to post MBA. So really, you know, it might be a large investment, but it's a large investment in your future, and you're likely going to see the return on investment within those 3 years. Have the next slide, please. So if you've heard all this and you're interested in applying, you know, we're going to break down kind of the admissions criteria that we're looking for. These are some of our minimum requirements, but, you know, we have a really holistic approach to, you know, our admissions process. So if you fall below any of these minimum requirements, by all means, I wouldn't let that discourage you from applying. We do have some hard requirements, but, you know, an overall strong profile might be able to make up for any shortcomings. So typically what we're looking for is, in terms of academics, we're looking for a 3 or 4 year undergraduate degree. We're looking for about a B average, or about a 75%. And we're also looking for competitive scores on your GMAT or GRE. So we do accept both of those tests. In terms of the GMAT, we're looking for, about a 660 to be competitive, maybe 660, 670 range. As well for the GRE, we convert that over to a GMAT score. So there's a lot of conversion tools available online to kind of get an idea of what the expectations are there. We are looking for a minimum of 2 years by the time the program starts. So, if you don't quite have those 2 years yet, you can submit your application just so long as you maintain employment, and you will have those 2 years by the time the program starts. But then again, it's always better to have more experience. We do have, I think, about a 5-year average amongst Schulich students. So that really just provides you more experience to draw on in the classroom. For the language requirement, so for those of you who had 2 years of study in a country or an institution where English was the medium, this English language proficiency requirement is waived. However, if you did not, we do require a TOEFL or IELTS score submission. For TOEFL, we're looking at about 100 with no individual band below 23. And for IELTS, we're looking for about a 7 with no individual band below 6.5. Now, in terms of the application itself, there are two written essays, one timed written essay, and 2 video questions. One of those written essays is just kind of an opportunity for you to outline your short and long-term goals, why you've decided that now is the time to pursue your MBA, and why you've decided to pursue Schulich. We have lots of MBA application tips and FAQs where we can kind of go a little bit more in depth as to what you should be writing in these essays, what you should be saying in these essays. But for this, I'll just keep it brief. The optional essay, the second written essay is an optional essay, and that's an opportunity for you to address any shortcomings on your application, any concerns the admissions committee might have. That's a great opportunity for you to provide some context to get ahead of those concerns. It's also an opportunity for you to highlight any accomplishments that you're especially proud of. Apart from that, we have a one-time written essay question. It's very similar in format to a question you might see during a job interview. We just want to know how you kind of react to a question on the fly like that, as well as 2 video essay responses. Very similar, once again, to a job interview. You will have some time to prepare and some time to practice, but don't over practice for those. Don't over stress it, okay? And then apart from that, we are requiring 2 professional references. So because we are looking for individuals with at least 2 years of working experience, at this point in time, you should be able to have 2 professional references. I would really recommend looking for people who will work directly with you rather than, it's great if you can find a president or a CEO who will vouch for you, but we're looking more so towards people who you work with on a daily basis, people who can vouch for your work ethic, for your kind of day-to-day. Can I have the next slide, please? Oh, and sorry, one thing I forgot to mention for that as well. We have the MBA JD program, the MBA MA and MFA programs, and they do have different program requirements. So I'd invite you to check out the website for those programs just to kind of get an idea of what the admissions criteria are for those ones. Okay. So I kind of touched on this earlier, but it is going to be a large investment, but if you're investing in your future, tuition fees are paid per term. So for domestic students, your full-time program tuition fees would be about $72,000 in total, or about $18,000 per term. Part-time, it would vary on how many courses you're doing per term, but typically, if you're doing, I think, 2 courses per term, you're going to finish your degree in about 10 terms, and it works out to be about the same price as the domestic tuition. Of course, that could change one way or another if you're taking on more courses or taking on fewer courses, but the average is usually about 10 terms to finish off your program. For international students, you're looking at a little bit more at $107,000 Canadian, or about $26,000 per term. Now, we understand it's a substantial investment, but once again, you're investing in your future. You're oftentimes going to see a return on investment within 3 years. And of course, there's also merit-based and need-based entrance scholarships as well. We have about $4 million awarded annually with various partners. I mentioned before the Forte Foundation. They provide some annual entrance funding as well. And of course, we're partnered with several different banks who offer prime rates line of credits. prime rates line of credit. Program is covered by OSAP as well. For international students, there are private loan programs that you could apply for, such as the sponsor for today's presentation, Empower Financing, and of course another one, Prodigy Finance as well. So I'd invite you to please take a look at our student financial services page, or financial aid page, for some more details on the scholarships available. But apart from that, we do have our application admissions open for the January 2022 intake. We're now past the first round of deadlines, but the second one is quickly approaching, July 22nd. I would recommend for our international students in the audience, please don't wait any longer than round 2. Just with the visa processing times, it can take some time to complete. So the earlier you're able to submit, the better. I would also like to note that for our domestic students in the audience, our fall 2021 applications are still being accepted on a rolling basis. So please, if you are interested in getting a head start on your MBA education and you want to get started this fall, please, by all means, if you're a domestic applicant, please send in your application. We're happy to sit down and meet with you. But thank you very much.
Great, thanks, John. Oh, Satwik, I think you're on mute.
Guys, this is my first time, so I guess technical errors happen. Thank you very much for everyone for really this terrific presentation. I personally truly enjoyed it. Sean, you've done a terrific job also on the YouTube channel, going through all the comments, and you responded to a lot of good comments and good questions. So let me try to select some of the things that haven't been touched upon yet. So maybe we start this way. How about we start doing talking about the most pressing of issues, which is admission, and then maybe go forward to the life at Schulich, and also the career, and maybe if we have some time, we can also take some other questions. So regarding admission, perhaps maybe the most important question is, how does Schulich evaluate work experience? So what are the different KPIs that you guys look at in that your prospective applicants should also consider?
Sure. So as Sean mentioned, we do look for a minimum of at least 2 years of work experience after graduation. As you've seen, even from our students, the work experience diversity is really there. So we're not looking for a specific person that's worked in a very business focused role, in a management role, that kind of thing. It's not what we're looking for. What we look for is more the quality of the work that you've done. What is the impact that you've had? What are the accomplishments that you've been able to complete at those positions? So when we're looking at a resume, we definitely want to see that focus on accomplishments. If you can quantify anything, for instance, the size of team you were leading, the amount of dollars worth of accounts you were in control of, those types of things do help to give the admissions committee a little bit more of the scope of the roles that you've had and what kind of impact you've had. So we definitely look for, that quality of experience. If you've had only very low level experience, not a lot of influence, not a lot of ability to contribute to various things, you may want to think about getting a little more experience first, but you're welcome to send us an inquiry with your resume. We can definitely give you some feedback on, where we think you're at, if we think you're sort of in the right position to be ready to pursue an MBA.
I'd also just like to add on to that, your MBA resume is likely going to differ substantially from your job hunting resume. So we're interested in knowing more about you as a person as well. So including your hobbies, volunteer experiences, your extracurriculars, any awards that you got, maybe, awards or accolades that you've received during your schooling or maybe even during your work experience. Those are great. So by all means, I would include those. And then also, if you can also write your months and exact dates of start time, that would be fantastic as well. That helps our assessors out a lot.
Thank you for that answer. Another question that I've seen quite a few times now is about the GMAT. So in light of the pandemic and all what's happening in different parts of the world, are still not out of this mess yet. Will Schulich consider waiving the GMAT requirement this year?
So unfortunately, no, we're not waiving the GMAT, but we are accepting the at-home versions that are provided as an alternative to those who are, the testing centers are closed. So do check it out. There's both an at-home version of the GMAT and the GRE exam that are acceptable. You can do it from the comfort of your home. We know it is sometimes difficult to have, a set amount of time where nobody's able to interrupt you and you have the ability to focus. So, just like any exam, we always recommend you give yourself a lot of time to plan and prepare and study, and just give yourself the best opportunity to create a good study plan for yourself so that you can time it in line with your application deadlines.
Makes sense, totally. Now, if we should switch gears a little bit to the career part, I've seen one question on YouTube earlier that I can't find anymore. There's so many questions here. It was stating so for people who are willing to change careers, how does Schulich help this kind of profile make it happen?
Yeah, sure. So I would say about half of our students are career changers and half are career advancers. So it really depends on your own situation. There's a career development center at Schulich. We call it CDC. They have career advisors. They arrange all of the networking events. They do career coaching, so they can help you with things like, refreshing your resume in a Canadian style if you're not from Canada, or practicing your interview skills, building on your networking knowledge, and connecting to employers. So obviously in the last year, all of those things have gone on virtually, which actually has, I think, given the team a lot more flexibility to do more than they were doing before in terms of advising and coffee chats and drop-ins and, having the accessibility to students. So maybe Satwik or Deanna, do you want to comment on any of your experiences working with the CDC?
I think I'll go for the question in general, for sure. How do you diversify? Coming from, even I'm a career changer. I want to change into a different stream, and I realized that the whole cohort, you have the whole cohort with you, and there are people from various experiences, and you can network with them. I can reach out to someone in my own class and ask them about their experience and learn from them. So you don't necessarily need a CDC. You can network there. It's also the courses that you take. As I mentioned, Schulich has so many specializations. If you have a specific specialization that you need to change to, you need to change your career to, you can specialize in that and see if you can interview in that. And also the CDC is really helpful. They have specialized people for certain paths, right? You want to get into consulting, there's a separate person who's going to help you out. If you want to get into banking, you'll have a separate person helping you out. So Schulich is really helpful for career changer for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. There was a question that I've seen earlier about life at Schulich, and particularly for international applicants or MBA students who come with their partners and their families. Can you tell us a bit more about different experiences you've seen on campus, on how the situation is handled, and what other resources that Schulich offers?
Yeah, sure. So, for instance, we've had students come with brand new newborn babies and start the program. So one of our international candidates from Brazil moved 4 months after having her baby and started the program right away, came with her husband, of course. But there's definitely a good number of students that have families. And then when it comes to, for instance, coming over as an international student, we do have an international relations team that provides a lot of support in terms of immigration advising around study permits, work permits, permanent residence applications. We also do a Welcome to Canada event to give some sort of local orientation to Canadianisms and things that, people that aren't from here might not know, like what's a double-double, like how many times do you have to say sorry in a day, things like this that are very Canadian. So
if I may add, Jessica, as well, as part of the Graduate Business Council, we have an international, I guess, portfolio, and they run a buddy program. And so the buddy program is a great way for international students as well to get sort of partnered up with an upper year MBA student. I took on a buddy this year, so I'm working with one of our international students, and yeah, it's a great way to get familiarized with the campus and sort of life at Schulich as well. So I just wanted to add that in too.
Thank you, Jessica and Deanna. I think there is no more questions for now regarding the life part, but I see more and more regarding the application and admission process coming, which is, I guess, it's logical. One theme that keeps happening is scholarship topic. So I know that you, Sean, talked about scholarships earlier, but especially for international students, I see that a lot of asking, what is the percentage of international students that get scholarships, or out of the scholarships, how many go to international students? Do we need to make a separate application, or do we get it automatically? Like all these logistical questions would be great if we could touch upon them.
Yeah, so of course there's going to be different scholarship opportunities for domestic and international applicants, and maybe Jessica can speak a little bit more to the international side. But when you're filling out your application, once you submit, you will be prompted to fill out a funding request form. Here you can kind of outline your financial status as well as your financial need for the program. And upon admission onto the program, our financial aid team will be looking through that application. They're going to be looking at, your merits in terms of your application. What was your GPA coming out of your undergrad or your last degree? What kind of GMAT were you looking at? Then they're going to be looking at things like, what is your financial need? How much do you need for the program? Are you doing a full-time or part-time study? Are you going to be on the accelerated pathway? Are you doing the regular MBA? That's the 2-year program. All those factors are going to play into what you're considered for. And then after that, they're also looking at things like, what kind of extracurricular involvement do you have? What kind of volunteer experience do you have? So, we're looking, we always say that we have a very holistic approach to applications, and that same thing kind of goes for our scholarships and awards as well. So there's lots of different ways you could qualify for those scholarships. And I would really invite you, I just posted a link to the YouTube, but there you can kind of see all of the different scholarships available. They all have different qualifying criteria. A lot of them require you to be, OSAP kind of qualified or OSAP eligible students, as well as, kind of tells you what they're looking for in someone who would be accepted for that scholarship. So yeah, that's probably your best resource in terms of finding out what you might be qualified for. But I defer to Jessica for the international students in our audience.
Yeah, so Sean mostly manages domestic portfolio for student applications. For the international students, you'll be automatically assessed for any scholarships. So the domestic students will fill out an extra form because there are some funding opportunities that are, supported by the government and require local residency and things like that. But for international students, everyone will be assessed based on your academic merit and your leadership. So as Sean mentioned, when we're looking at your work experience, your resume, we want to know about those volunteer things. We want to know about those leadership aspects. And then, of course, your GPA and your GMAT or GRE score come in very important because we are competing against a lot of other very fantastic candidates as well. And unfortunately, not every single student can gain a scholarship. But for international students, I would say on average scholarship is around $20,000. We did introduce a full scholarship this past year. So there is one full scholarship for an international student every year, which covers all tuition. But that is, again, extremely competitive, top of the tops, tons of leadership, great academics and extracurriculars. But there is a lot of different opportunities, including student loans. If you're a candidate that's coming from India, we do partner with a lot of banks in India that provide favorable rates as well. So you can look into those opportunities as well.
Thank you for the thorough answer. Really appreciate it. I've just seen now a question about the what Schulich is known for, so the different specializations that you offer, and Ankit is asking about the technology consulting pathways or fields. Is there anything specific regarding these fields that we can tell Ankit?
Yeah, for sure. There's actually two that might be of interest. So we do have a business consulting specialization, and it's a little bit unique. It's different than the other specializations that we offer in that a normal specialization is that you take 4 courses in the one subject area, and really that becomes your specialization. So for consulting, there's 3 courses that are offered, but only 2 of them are open to everybody. So the third one is actually open to students that are hired into a student-run consulting organization, which is a fantastic opportunity to hone your consulting skills, get that extra experience before going out and graduating, on top of your 601 or your field study, which is also consulting experience. If you are, among one of the ones that are hired into the consulting group, then you can take that extra course. But everybody's open to take the 2 courses, and the third one is reserved for those that get into the consulting group. The other thing in regards to technology, there may be 2 options. We've introduced a new specialization this fall, which is called digital transformation. And we also have a specialization in operations management and information systems. So those are 2 areas you might want to look into.
I guess, Ankit, you got your answer there. I've got one interesting question, which is, how can prospective students connect to MBA student ambassadors? Is there a link or something that we can post in the chat?
So usually that process happens once a student has started their application. Of course, there are tons of students that want to connect. We have limited number of students who are very, very busy. So we want to make sure that we are not overwhelming them in times when they have exams, coursework, and on all sorts of things to do. So sort of the first step would be to get your application started, to connect with a member of the recruitment team, and then throughout the process of your application, we can introduce you to some of the students.
All right, thank you for that. I have 2 final questions. The first one is, and I've seen this a couple times now, there are a couple people who are, let's say, on the older age for typical MBA admissions, and they're a bit worried about, okay, is my profile still all right for an MBA? Should I go for an EMBA? Is there any threshold that you'd look at and say, okay, maybe we shouldn't apply for an MBA at Schulich?
We don't have a hard cutoff, but usually we have up to about 15 or 16 years of postgrad experience in the MBA, and after which a student is more likely a fit for our executive MBA. For the executive program, they look for at least 8 years of progressive senior management experience. So if you fit that criteria, you might be a better fit for the executive MBA. It's in collaboration with the Kellogg School of Management. And just to let you know, it's not exactly a full-time program. So you're not going to be in class Monday to Friday for that EMBA. And it would be a little bit different. So if you're an international student, likely you're not going to be able to get a study permit for an executive MBA because it's not a full-time program.
That's very important to know in advance. Okay, one last question, which might be a bit tricky, it might be easy. How Schulich is different from other Canadian business schools regarding the, let's say, non-academic curriculum activities?
Okay, yeah, good question. I think maybe Deanna wants to jump in, but I'll just say first that, in Canada, we are all very collegial. We're very, friendly amongst each other. We're never going to disparage another school in any way. We can only speak to what our strengths are. So I'll really let Deanna talk about her experience, what she feels the strengths of Schulich are, and what she wanted to share.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Schulich students and just the community at Schulich is very passionate in general. And so we put our heart into everything. And I think that's really passed on to, the new students who take part in activities and the students who have been there for, their first year. And so I think we're, very passionate school, which is really exciting. And we put our heart into, everything, whether that's like the MBA games or case competitions or other, one-off events and networking things. And so I would say that was, what got me really involved in the Schulich community. It was just the general excitement that everyone brought to the table. So yeah.
Great. Satwik, anything to add?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think as Jessica mentioned, the Dean's Cup. Like I was part of the Dean's Cup, and I was one of the finalists. I finished top 3 in the Dean's Cup last year, in the first year. So I would really say it's first year is the time that you get to participate in all these activities, and second year you'll be too busy searching for a job or trying to finish your MBA and get all these documentations in place. So first is the time that you'll probably invest in participating in these extracurricular activities. There's also Schulich is doing really well in the entrepreneurship space with lots of events like Schulich Startup Night. You also have the Together 2021, which is a tie-up between the Indian government as well as the Canadian government, with Schulich students coordinating all the events and participating in it. So if you have time, just look at the Schulich Startups page, and you can get a lot of details on the events that are going on, and it's accessible to people who are even interested in Schulich. You don't need to be a student exactly. You can participate if you're a prospective student too. So have a look at the Schulich Startups page.
Great. And maybe just one last thing I'll add is, I think that because our curriculum is very team focused, you're going to spend 8 months working in a team. It's not a short duration. If you come into the program with a very individually competitive mindset, it's not going to work very well. So you learn very quickly that you need to collaborate, you need to work together, you need to trust your teammates and your peers. And I think that makes it a different kind of community feeling than maybe some other schools might offer.
All right, that was a very authentic answer, I feel. So thank you everybody for your contribution, for the presentation, and for taking the time for the Q&A. That would be it for this session. Thank you, our GMAT Club followers and members and YouTubers for being here today. If you liked today's session, please hit that thumb up button. If you didn't like it, please give us feedback, and we'll be happy to work on that. Again, thank you very much, and I'll hope we stay in touch.
Thank you. Hope to see everybody at our next session in about 2 hours.
Take care.
Thanks for coming.